so in this thing that God is doing as a new thing, there's change. But not only there's change, but we got to maintain our purpose in the midst of change. Change is in the atmosphere. Uh, Change is on the horizon. But in the midst of change, we got to maintain our purpose. Purpose is the reason we were called, the calling that God has placed on our life. Such as myself, the calling that God has placed on my life. He has called me to encourage people, to motivate people, to move people to the next dimension of thinking, next dimension in health, next dimension in monitoring our finances. So uh, change and purpose are synonymous. Synonymous, we get the word alike, alike in significant, alike in significance. But even in the midst of change, we know there's a new level of importance in this change, and it's imperative that we change. Uh, but in this imperative call, uh, clarion call to change, it's necessary to maintain the momentum of our purpose for which you were called. To cause people to change their thinking, to move to the next dimension of thinking, to go from one dimension to the next. So it is that amidst the change, we've got to maintain our purpose. So three things. One is clarity. Number two is the change is inevitable. And number three is calling. I want you to remember those, and I'll be out your way. Give me about 8 more minutes, I'll be out of your way. In the midst of this 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 change and purpose, we must maintain have clarity. Proverbs 4:25-27 says, "Set your gaze on the path before you with fixed purpose, looking straight ahead. Ignore life distractions." That was one word that Dr. I.B. Hilliard gave me there in Sanford, Florida, when I was in Orlando, Winter Park. Asked him how he was able to survive the difficult times. He said, "You got to ignore it, Doc. So you got to ignore life distractions. Watch where you're going. Stick to the path of truth, and the road will be safe and smooth for you." This is the word of the Lord. Don't allow yourself to be sidetracked for even for a moment, or take a detour that leads to darkness. So you got to stay focused. You got to stay alert. You got to remember who you are. You got to have a focused mindset. You got to set your mind on what it is. It's a new normal. Things have changed. Isn't it? Yeah, I don't think things ever go back. It's a new normal. It's a new normal. This is the day that my mom and dad prayed for vehemently, consistently. They I don't want to be around when this time comes. This is a new normal. So in the midst of the new normal, we're going to maintain clarity. The way you maintain clarity is to set your gaze on the path that's before you. Set your gaze on the path that's before you in this change and purpose. Number two, once you have clarity down, then you got to remember that this is a change. Isaiah 43 say, "Watch for the new thing I am going to do." Watch for the new thing I'm going to do. That's what God said. It said, "Having it already, can't you not see it now? I will make a road through the wilderness." So in the midst of what's going on, all of what's the COVID-19, God said, "I got this. You need to focus on me. If my people will call by my name, will humble themselves and pray, turn from their wicked ways, seek my face, I will hear from heaven, heal their land, and forgive them of their sins." Streams of water. It may seem like what is happening is not fair, but I hear the demands of change. I hear times that we're in demand change. Demand that we shift. We have to shift. We can't continue to do business as usual. Actually, doing business as usual is no longer available. It's no longer acceptable. It's out of date. It's over. And Bill Gates said that in an interview recently. I heard him on doing this interview with Dr. Oz and Anderson Cooper. He was talking about donating $100 million. He and his wife Melinda donated $1 million. Business as usual is no longer acceptable. acceptable. Things have changed. There's a shift. But God said, I got you. If you can trust me, maintain your motivation. Hold on. I got this. Romans 8:28 says like this. In the midst of change, you got to maintain your purpose. He said, all things work together for the good of them that love the Lord, them that are called according to his purpose. So this calling is not a telephone call. It can be, but this call I'm talking about is a call that comes from God. And the way you know what you're called to, you're willing to do what God has called you to do, even if you don't not compensated for it. You need compensation. You need the reality. You need resources. But God is your source. In the midst of this change, there will be economic upheaval. There will be change. There will be difficult times of change. But therefore, we must live a balanced life between grace and faith. A balanced life between grace and faith. Andrew Womack, and reading that book, it's been so enjoyable. Pass it on to my daughter to read it. I would encourage you to go get it. Living life between the balance of grace and faith. Now, faith without God giving you that grace is an area where you are in no man's land. You're in an area where God not told you to go. But when God opens a door, there will be difficulties. But God promised you that if you walk in faith, all things are possible to them that believe. So God's grace, and our understanding to trust him in the midst of the process. It may not look the way you want it to look, may not feel the way you want it to feel, but God's got you. Remember, I'm closing with David's testimony in Psalms 37 and 25. He said, I've never seen the righteous forsaken or his seed begging bread. You got to remember that. God's got this. God not only got this, God's got you. And because God's got this, God's got you, everything is going to be all right. So I want to pray for you now and ask God's richest blessing to be upon you on this Sunday. Enjoy your day. Remember, this is the day that the Lord has made. God, our Father, our help in ages past and hope for years to come. Lord, be thou still our strength and shield. Spirit of the living God, fall fresh upon us. Destroy the strongholds. Loose the heavy burdens. Let the oppressed go free. So, Lord, I thank you now for removing burdens and destroying yokes. I thank you, Lord, we're the head, we're not the tail. We're above, we're not beneath. We're the lenders, we're not the borrowers. We're blessed coming in, we're blessed going out. Everything our hand touches prospers. God, we love you, we adore you, we praise you, God, because it's in you. It's in you, God, that we live, move, have our being. God bless you. God keep you is our prayer. Hey, listen, if you're motivated, you feel moved of God, we encourage you to Cash App. Do Cash App. That'll be the $, of course, capital D, Dr. Small R, K30. Dr. K30. God bless you. God keep you. Love you. Be in touch.